My name is Gbadebo Adejumo, and I'm the Educational Outreach Coordinator at the U.S. Consulate General Lagos. Thank you for joining this afternoon. Today, I'm going to be going through this presentation on how you can best maximize your summer. These are some strategies that will help you to better strengthen your U.S. college application. But before we dive in, I would like to give you some background. US universities get up to 800,000 plus applications every year, and just about 5% acceptance rate to top schools. And from my experience with working with Nigerian students, they always, I mean, if they have a list of 10 schools, I can guarantee that at least two or three will be one of the top schools in the US. So what makes the difference? How do you stand out? Like one of my major phrases in my advising is always that I have never seen a student who gets into these top schools by mistake. I've never seen a student get into the Harvards, the Ivy Leagues, the MITs, by mistake. And the major difference is always what they've done during their summer, probably their last three or their last four summers. So definitely your summer is your biggest opportunity to make that difference in your application. So I'll really want you to listen to this presentation very well and see how best you can really take advantage of your summer. But let's just roll it back a bit. Let's do a quick roundup of what makes a college application basically. That's the US application, the academic excellence, which is your coursework, your grades, standardized tests, your extracurricular activities, how have you demonstrated impacts, have you shown leadership, research projects, like online research programs, volunteering, obviously your recommendations, then your essays and storytelling, and your summer action plan. Now, your academics, what that entails is your GPA, and that's the beginning of everything. Yes, even if your academics is not something that you're doing in the summer, but it forms, a major part of your college application and your course rigor as well. Have you done IB? Have you done A levels? Of course, your standardized tests as well. I know students who still go around saying, oh, school A, school B is test optional, but I can bet you if you want to get to the top schools in the US, for you to stay competitive, for you to stay relevant in your college application, I'll always advise that you take standardized tests. Extracurricular activities as well cannot be overstated. Your essays, your recommendations, your research projects. These are the six major components of a US college application. And it's always important for you to note that admissions officers would evaluate you holistically. Every component tells a part of your story, and summer is the summer period is your chance to strengthen majority of these components. Now let's take these components one after the other and how you can use your summer to strengthen your application. Now, for academic excellence, your strong GPA is important. Your academic rigor, like I said, your standardized tests, and obviously your final year examinations. But during your summer, what are some of the things that you want to be doing to strengthen this component one? Don't forget, component one is academic excellence. Now, during your summer, you can begin to start your SAT, ACT preparation. When I say your summer, this does not have to be your the summer before your last year in college, right? If you're here with us and you're in grade 9 or grade 10, JSS3, SS1, you can kind of like pace these action plans, summer by summer. Now, you can start your SAT and ACT preparation during the summer. It's a very good time for you to start. You have Khan Academy. It's a free resource where you can begin planning. You can take online courses from Coursera, EDX, to preview college level content, right? It can also strengthen weak subjects with tutoring. Academic excellence is very key. Your final year grades are very important. So if, for example, you see that in your previous term or your previous terms, you're kind of weak in mathematics, your summer is an opportunity for you to get extra tutoring in that particular subject. If in your neighborhood or in whatever states you have access to take maybe AP classes or just something to strengthen your transcripts, you might want to also consider that option. And once again, to improve component one, which is the academic excellence, you want to read widely. You want to read books. You want to read journals. You want to, listen to the news as well. For me, one of the best ways to prepare for the English components of the SAT is listening to news, reading journals, because some of the English comprehension that you're going to be taking are except from some of these journals that you might have read before. Okay, so it's better for you to use the summer to kind of get familiar with some of these texts. Once again, some free resources that will be necessary will be like Khan Academy, Coursera, EDX. You can also get familiar with College Board, Blue Book. So some free resources that you can use to prepare yourself for component one, which is academic excellence. Now, extracurricular activities. Obviously, I can understand how, rigorous your regular school term could be. So, the summer is really a very good time for you to improve your extracurricular activities. And from my experience, once again, when you talk about extracurricular activities, students just always think in the direction of, oh, I'm not a prefect, I'm not this, I'm not that, but or maybe you're not like playing or you don't represent your school in particular program like athletic programs. But for sure, extracurricular engagement involves every activity outside the four walls of the classroom. So it's not just restricted to athletics, right, or leadership, which is you being a prefect or not. In fact, school is not the only place you can kind of like show leadership, right? So your summer is another opportunity where you can explore several extracurricular activities. So there's examples include academic clubs. You can go for debate competitions, you can go for science Olympiad, model UN, mathematics competitions. And one thing I've also learned in the past 2 years is that some of these things don't have it doesn't have to be school driven, right? It could be yourself driven, where you are the one seeking these competitions, seeking these opportunities. I know my supervisor was telling me that there is a chess competition, I think somewhere in Lagos, maybe next month or so. You can go out of your way to seek these opportunities so that you can better prepare yourself for college in the US. Also, community service. I know some estates in Lagos where they kind of organize community service, where maybe every Saturday or maybe Fridays and Saturdays you can, like, they're kind of, I won't use the word employ because I don't think it's paid, but they kind of, so let's just use the word employ. They kind of employ you. You work in the estate management office and you go out for community service. These programs are structured, and you also actually have that opportunity to give back to your immediate community. Once again, during the school term, you might not have the opportunity to do some of these things, but of course, summer is a very good time for you to improve your community service engagement. Also, there are leadership roles that you can take in your church, in your place of worship, in your mosque. You can lead teams to achieve whatever goals. Also, entrepreneurship. I know several programs during the summer where you can sort of display whatever that you're making, if you're baking, or just entrepreneurship in terms of solving a local problem, right? The summertime is the best opportunity for you to kind of do some of these things. Arts and creativity is another option, and obviously sports. You can represent your state, you can represent your estate. The most important thing is you don't have to do do one activity in academics, one activity in community service. Just out of these six categories, you can even schedule yourself, right? Maybe this particular summer I want to only concentrate on community service. Don't forget, for every extracurricular engagement that you want to do, you must be able to demonstrate commitment, right? Impact. It's not just about, oh yeah, I did six different things each week for 6 weeks, right? That doesn't really demonstrate enough commitment, because just one activity per week. But if you can actually, in a 2 month summer, if you can really immerse yourself in just two activities that you can demonstrate commitment and impact, I think that will go a really, really long way in your college application. Another opportunity is online research programs, right? Sorry, there are a lot of programs online now, or where some of them are paid. Of course, some of them are free, and you can take a screenshot from my screen. There are some of these websites where you can even partner with international um, students, in other countries, not necessarily the US, to probably research on a program, or like for Lumia, there's a one-on-one mentorship with PhD students across multiple disciplines. They're just these resources, even MIT Open Courseware. This is an opportunity where you can sort of improve your research experience. I've seen students, undergraduate students now, who have written papers even before they graduate from school. And this is how they develop those skills. I know there is this UN online volunteering that happens every year. This is an opportunity for you to also get this global experience, if you would like, right? So for me, if in a particular summer you don't have to do everything, like I said, you can always schedule, okay, this particular summer, this is what I want to do. Or in my in this particular summer, I want to only concentrate on academic excellence. In the following summer, I want to concentrate on maybe academic excellence and extracurricular engagement. Or I want to concentrate on academic excellence and maybe online research programs. I've seen students that in a particular summer, what they were just doing was taking SAT classes and also taking online research programs. The SAT classes are usually like later in the day. So during the day, they do like the online research programs, they close because I mean it's remote. They close and then they go for their SAT classes. So just you have to think about what really works best for you. But for sure, there are a lot of resources out there. There are a lot of things that you can do during the summer. Of course, another big component of your college application is your essays and your personal statement, right? And yes, let's start, or let's kind of use Common App essay as the well, I say as the yardstick. You have like series of topics, and you have to develop your own essay. Obviously, and then somebody here is thinking, yeah, we just use AI, blah blah blah. But the most important part is your own story, right? Your Nigerian identity. That is your own story. Your challenges, your perspective, right? It is not a disadvantage if you believe that living in a certain environment is your story, right? That's fine. Just build around it. But one thing I've noticed is that because people don't plan well, once again, they don't plan their summers very well, they don't plan their holidays very well. They realize that, oh, I have a deadline maybe next 2 weeks or next 3 weeks. And then instead of thinking about their own story, right? What they just go the easy way out, which is let me just look for what I think the admission officer wants to hear. And yeah, they go that route and they don't get what they're looking for. But what's important is during your holidays, as you go around doing all these things, you can start thinking about, brainstorm about story ideas from your life, right? This is something that you don't even have to wait for the summer to do. Journal daily to find authentic moments. I've seen students writing like essays that was inspired by maybe because during the school year they're usually in the school bus, but because they got this internship during the summer and they have to take in Lagos, we'll call it downfall, and that was just where they got the inspiration for their essay, right? So find authentic moments, from your life. This is time you have. I won't say you have all the time in the world during your summer, but the summer is a very good time where you can think. During the school year, there's so many things happening. Your life is very monotonous. You have to wake up early, or if you're in body, yeah, even if you're in body now, so you're waking up early. But your summer is a very good opportunity where you can kind of like think very well. You can draft your common app essay, read sample essays as well from top schools online. Practice revision with trusted mentors, embrace your Nigerian perspective. It's very unique. I keep saying this. There's no point trying to write an essay and you're envisioning yourself in a country that you've never been to. You're trying to be frictional. But then the story is not making sense because you've never been in that moment before. Okay. But your summer, if you want to use your summer to improve component four, which is essays and personal statement, you it's a very good time for you to brainstorm. It's a very good time for you to read other people's essays. It's a very good time for you to draft your own essay, right? It's a very, very good time. In fact, I've seen students that their junior year, that's SS2, yeah, SS2 summer, right? What they do is they kind of use the opportunity to actually brainstorm and write on all the common app essays. You know, it's just draft. It's not like that. Obviously, you cannot submit all, but they've used that particular time to, think, write on all these essays, and then with time, they just feel like, okay, I think I'll prefer option A to option B. But the most important thing is that they've had more than enough time to kind of draft something, and they took it up from there. So my point is, use your summer to think about your essay. Use your summer to draft your essay. Your essays shouldn't be something that you're starting the whole process 2 weeks before the deadline. Your summer is a very good time for you to improve that. Now, talking about letters of recommendation. Yeah, I tell students, no matter how wicked that teacher is, you can't, on the day of your graduation, you can't just say, you know what, I'm done with you. I'm never doing anything with you again. You're always going to be needing them, right? And you need your counselor, you need one of your core subject teachers, that's English, math, or sciences. And then there are some schools that will even ask you for another teacher recommender, and this could be in any discipline. So once again, your summer is an opportunity for you to identify top 2 to 3 teachers before the new school year begins. Okay, you've spent like 5 years in the school. You don't need to resume another year to know which teacher you want to recommend you. Your summer is an opportunity for you to think about who you think can really articulate, who you are inside and outside of the classroom, right? Participate meaningfully in class throughout the year so teachers remember you. You can't ghost throughout the year, and then the following session, you go and meet a teacher and say, okay, I want you to recommend me. It doesn't work that way. Immediately you resume. Immediately you resume is not when you are brainstorming who you want to recommend you. You've done that during the summer, but immediately you resume, you're going now to ask, right, your teacher that I would like you to recommend me. It's not 1 week to the deadline. That is when you're going. As you're resuming, in fact, one of the things that you're doing during your summer is preparing your brag sheet. That's a document showing your achievements, your goals, why each school that you're applying to. So as you're going to meet that counselor or whoever you're choosing to recommend you, you're going there with your brag sheet. Okay, that is, so once again, you're finished the brain work during the summer. And as you're resuming, you're starting the process, okay, which is very, very important for you. Now, component 6, which is the standardized testing strategy for Nigerian students. Like I said initially, I know more students will take the SAT, compared to the ACT, but once again, my preference is always that if you can afford it, if time permits it, you can actually take the 2 of them and see which one you actually prepare. You've done better, right? And like I said, that question of this school is test optional, should I take it? Should I not take it? I don't think, if you're a student that wants to get to the top schools, or you want to be competitive, or you're looking for funding, I think taking the standardized test is very, very, very important. Now, you also want to, like I said at the beginning, you've started preparing, right? Taking standardized tests, using some of these resources that I've spoken about, Khan Academy, Coursera, to prepare. And then you want to apply, you want to decide on 1 month of the year you want to take the test. And then if funds permits, like I would say, I think you can as well just go ahead to pay and register for the test so you can get that out of the way. Once again, the summer is a good time for you to actually register and, just take it. In fact, I know students who, part of the things that they do is they take the tests even during the summer, and then they take the last one maybe in September or October. Also, you want to use your summer to kind of come up with like an action plan. You know, Usually, if, for example, for your school you have like 2 months of summer holiday, you also want to create like an action plan. You don't want all these plans to be in your head, like, yes, I plan to do this in week 1, I might do this in week 2. You want to actually have an action plan that for every week you have a target. It's not on Monday morning that you're thinking, okay, yeah, what can I or what should I achieve this week? But as at the beginning of the summer, you have this, action plan that you are working with. And I think that way it helps you really, really uh, set goals and also achieve these goals. So you want to come up with like a summer action plan. I don't know how many weeks you have. If you have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know, 10 weeks, you can come up with a summer action plan. And I'm just going to say at this point that you don't have to do all these things in one summer, but just pick, for example, um, even if we're saying summer, so there are some of these things that maybe you want to even plan and they could even spill over to like, you know, Christmas holiday. I know maybe I'm overreaching now, but even when I was in school, there was no really like holiday for me. I'm probably doing one internship or doing one lesson or the other. So maybe I'm just projecting now. But like I said, if you kind of if you want to resume on campus in the US next year, by now you're already planning your summer. And if there are other things you want to achieve, you can maybe take 2 weeks from your Christmas holiday and just add that to some of the things that you want to do, so that the overall point, the overall goal is that you want to remain competitive. You want your application to be competitive. Don't forget, you're not the only one applying, and you want to get as much funding as possible. And of course, you want to get to the best schools that you actually can get. But let's not forget, most important parts, your WAEC, your NECO, they matter a lot. So you don't want to take that for granted. I'm never going to tell you that your SAT is more important than your WAEC. Never. Your WAEC is pretty much very important. Funding is available, readily available, but you have to always fight. I try to use the word fight for it, because right now college application is very competitive. So nobody's going to hand anything over to you for free. So you have to practically fight for it. And I also spoke about research programs earlier, and majority of the things, they are remote, so internet access is very key. Even if you need to take online classes, internet access is very, very key. No matter how serious you want to project yourself, if you have an employer in another country, in another region, and every day you're showing up and it's always one network problem or the other, as a Nigerian, I might understand that it's not your fault, but that's what I'm saying it now, so that you can plan ahead. To be honest, there are a lot of American centers all around the country where you can always go to take some of these classes. If you're an Education USA member, you can always go to the Education USA office close to you to get, internet access. So, because, a lot of all these things I've said, you need internet access for it. Now, community impact is powerful. Now, think about it. You can never be the only student with all A's in WAEC. You cannot be the only student with perfect GPA in your school, or even in your neighborhood, if that makes sense, right? So and even in terms of SAT, even if you're scoring 1550, yes, maybe around you could be the best, but globally, there are other students who are scoring similar or more than you. So what really makes you different and what brings you out is your community impact. And that takes me back to one of the components that I discussed, which is extracurricular activities. I think that's component two. That takes me back to how you can effectively use your summer to actually improve your application. I can't, overestimate, the impact of whatever you do in your community, in your college application. I promise you. And don't feel like you have to do this big thing. Nobody expects you to travel to the US to do this huge community program. I bet you it's because you have the money. That's probably why you're thinking in that direction. And that's probably what the admissions officers are also thinking, right? So just do something. Start a reading program. Teach local children in your community. I keep saying, if you're living in a gated estate, right, you might want to just gather these little kids around your area and just teach them something. You can be running a health awareness campaign, just something. I promise. Is when you're doing these things, that's when you're able to kind of have a story to tell in your college application, right? I've seen some students, I've seen their application, and their whole application is like a storybook. You know that these people immerse themselves in this process. But there are some people that they are just, that they lie, they're just talking from the blues. They do not do any of these things. And the difference is always clear, right? So immerse yourself in your local community. Yes, I fully understand, insecurity and all of that, but you don't have to go big. Just in your small circle, in your small community, how there's always something to do. There's always something to do. You can always teach, can always start something. You just need to think. Just think about it. We are few weeks to the summer break. Just think about what you can do. How can you impact your immediate community? And I promise you, it's going to, it's going to tell a lot in your college application. All right. These are some of the resources that I have shared in my application. So you can just take a screenshot if you can. And yes, I think so. The journey starts this summer. I don't know. There are some of you here, you can be feeling like, oh my God, I wasted my last summer. I should have done this, I should have done that. But I bet you, you can do much more. You can do much more. You can register for your Common App. You can start your Khan Academy preparation this week if you can. Apply for online research programs, write your draft essay, read other people's essays, visit an education USA center. Visit an education USA center. We have trained advisors, in these centers that can guide you, that can, always guide you throughout your college application journey. All right. Let me just recap quickly. We have these components, that's the academic part, the standardized tests, extracurriculars, essays, recommendations, and research projects. These are the 6 major components of your college applications. And for each of them, there are different things that I've discussed on how that you can do during the summer to improve your college application. Finally, you don't have to do all of them in one summer, but look at where you are now, look at where you're going. Just pick some of these programs and see how they can and see the ones that you can do and how they can improve your college application. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I can take them now.